everyone, welcome to Yoga with Bianca and Nirio. My name is Bianca and today we'll focus on Chaturanga Dandasana, the four-limbed staff pose. So let's get started right away. Come onto your mats and let's Chaturanga. So before we get started and actually go into our practice, I would like to talk a little bit about the alignment in Chaturanga. Chaturanga is really one of the poses which is really, I feel, really difficult. For me, it's one of the most difficult poses we actually have, but it's also a pose which is always integrated in our yoga practice. And unfortunately, many people practice Chaturanga without even knowing how to set up for this pose. So I want to make sure that you are safe. I want to give you the help you might need and just talk about the alignment. So let's start with our hands. There are two options for your hands. So in general, when we come from plank into our Chaturanga, our arms are long, they are straight, straightish, a tiny micro bend in your elbows, never lock those joints. But you have a line from your wrist to your elbow to your shoulder. Now, when you in your plank, most people set up with their index and middle finger pointing to the front of the mat, which means the crease of your wrist is parallel to the front of your mat. Now, not everyone has the mobility in their wrists and their joints, so you might want to try to turn those hands out a little bit. If you practice handstands, you might know this. It gives you a little bit more space, and not everybody is the same, so you want to make sure that you find the alignment where you can find the rest of your Chaturanga setup. So that's my advice number one. Check out your hand alignment, see which one is better for you. Then from here, what is really important is that we bend the elbows and we bring those elbows really close to our rib cage. So we really bring them to our lower ribs here and we engage them, keeping this connection between the elbow and the rib cage. Now, what you will find if you bend your elbow 90 degrees is that your elbow is in one line with your wrist and also one line in one line with your shoulder. Now, we talked about hand alignment, we talked about elbow alignment. Let's talk about shoulder alignment. Most important here is that we don't reach those shoulders up to the ears. You want to make sure when you come into your Chaturanga that you relax the shoulders down. You might even want to roll them back and down, which helps you to engage your shoulder blades. So you want to pull those shoulder blades slightly together to help yourself to find this openness in your chest. That's really, really important, but most important is don't just drop the shoulders down and don't pull them up to the ears, okay? So much to the hand, arm, hand, elbow, and shoulder alignment. Now, Chaturanga is not just a strength pose for your arms, it's also asking you to engage your core. So most important when you think about Chaturanga, if you come down to your 90 degrees bent elbows, you want to have one line from your shoulder to your hip to your heel. So we are not poking up the booty into the air, we're not dropping down the tush to the floor. We really want to make sure that we engage everything so that we find a beautiful line from the crown of your head all the way down to your heels. Now, I don't just want to go into the Chaturanga with you without giving you the help or giving you some skills to actually work on your strength in your arms, in your shoulders, in your core. So let's start with this. If you're really new to Chaturanga, if you're just starting yoga and you want to make sure you're safe, you don't want to end up with injuries in your shoulders and your wrists, right? You want to make sure that you build the strength your body needs to actually do this pose. How can you do this? Good question. So let's start. Find a position on your mat, choose the front and the back. And don't worry about me, I might face the camera as often as I can to actually explain it to you. But to work on strength, I give you some ideas what you can work on. Now, let's find a plank pose here. So set up your plank pose, find the line, feet are hip width apart, engage your core, push yourself away from the floor, and you look down but a tiny bit forward. Engage your core here. So that's plank. You can just work with plank and hold your plank for 3 to 5 breaths. Option number 2, bring your knees down, cross your chins, bring your heels to your tush. Now from here, lean slightly forward. Make sure you engage your core here so you not just drop the belly down. Really be strong. Lean forward, bend your elbows 90 degrees, push yourself back up, and then find child's pose. This is option number 2. You can again do this as often as you can. Start maybe with 3 rounds, maybe up to 5, maybe up to 10. See how strong you are. Now, if this feels good, maybe you want to, again, set up with those planks, knees down. Maybe then you lean forward, bend those elbows 90 degrees, and then push yourself into an upward dog. This is option number 3. Option number 4, do the same thing, but from a high plank. High plank here. Again, shift forward, come onto the balls of your feet, get your core engaged, bend those elbows 90 degrees, and push back up. Or do the same thing, plank pose, 90 degrees bend elbows, up to upward dog, and then you practice this transition. Now, if you find it is really difficult for you to find this 90 degrees bent elbows, my tip is to work with blocks. How can you do this? Now, if you set up your blocks and you have to play around a little bit. For me, the best height is the highest, but for you it might be one lower. So you play around with this. You want to set your blocks when you come into a plank pose now, so that your blocks, your hands are on the outsides of your blocks, but you are actually a little bit further behind your blocks, okay? Now again, let's just set up plank pose here, but with the knees down. And then from here, we lean forward, bend 90 degrees, and then see what happens. My shoulders can actually relax onto the block. I get an idea of how it looks like to be in a chaturanga. And then from here, I can push back up and just practice this transition. It really helps to find your alignment, to be safe while you practice, and to slowly increase your strength, okay? So that's another option. Some people also, which I don't do as often, but some people also like to bring a block underneath your lower belly. And then you could just find this alignment, bring the shoulder back down to your block, right? And then just see how this feels. Okay, so there are different options. It's not my favorite option as in particular, because I feel when you have the block under your belly, you don't work as much. Whether then when you have the blocks just under your shoulders, you still need to hold up your body. So those are a few drills. I give you some more. My recommendation is, when you work on strength, let's say you know how Chaturanga works, but you wanna be able to hold your Chaturanga for a little bit longer, or you just in general wanna get a little bit stronger, right? I would just recommend whenever you do your flow, whenever you flow from plank, chaturanga, upward dog, downward dog, just include 3 little push-ups from high plank or with your modification with the knees down. Yeah. Another cool way to really practice strength is when you are in your downward dog, excuse me. And then from here, from your downward dog, you just bring your nose down to the mat, push back up and back into downward dog. Same thing, you could do it from a dolphin. Breathe in here. Exhale, bring the nose down to the mat between your hands. Come back up to dolphin. So those are really playful ideas to integrate into your practice. It really, really helps to build your strength. And just to be a little bit more creative. And if you feel you're in a flow class, in a vinyasa class, and the flow is just a little bit too slow, or you just feel you want to add a little bit of your own practice, you won't distract anyone in the practice if you work a little bit on those strengthenings, on those skills. Another thing what I want to introduce to you, and this really just helps you to open your chest, is to make yourself a little backpack with your strap. What I mean with this is, which I will show you now, is that we can use the strap to really roll our shoulders back and down to find this openness in our chest. I love doing this when I work on my computer the whole day and I find myself rounding, collapsing into myself. Really, really helps. How do we do this? So, grab your strap, bring your strap behind you, make sure that each side is the same length, and you want to have the strap on the bottom of your shoulder blades. From here, we're gonna just flap those strap ends over our shoulders so that the ends hang down behind us. Now from here, we just bring those straps again forward, and then you can just close up your strap. And I'm not going to do it all the way yet, but that's the idea. If you close it all the way up, you can pull it tight. It really helps you, as you can see, to really gently roll those shoulders back. It changes your whole body position without you actually needing to work on it the whole time. So it's really nice if you work on your computer, as I said before. If you have a long day in the office, working on your desk and writing reports or whatever it is, it's really, really helpful. So I hope this helps you to get a little bit more familiar with your chaturanga, and to trust yourself to be able to build the skill. There is the option from your chaturanga to go all the way down to the mat and then to come back up to your upward dog. I don't really want to talk about this too much right now. It asks for a lot of strength, but just so that you see it, it will be the same thing. You set up for your plank, shift forward, 90 degrees bent elbows coming all the way down, and then from here, find your upward dog, and then downward dog. But going all the way down, and that's not the chaturanga, it's the transition from chaturanga to upward dog, asks for more strength. And I feel very often when we practice this, what happens is that we actually reach the shoulders further forward, so that when we end up in our downward dog, we actually have the wrists behind the shoulders, which we don't want to do. But I think that's another tutorial, so we might want to talk about this another day. Practice your chaturanga, practice your skills, you strengthen your skills, strengthen your body, and trust yourself. Imagine how you do your chaturanga. Hold it in your mind, see the picture in your mind, and then continue physically with the work. Have a lovely day, everyone. Don't forget to like and to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Connect with me on Instagram, yogi.bianca. I wish you a lovely day, and I will see you for the next tutorial. Bye, everyone.